G'day class. We're going to be working on a different sketch in this particular video. We're working on a gasket sketch, as you can see on the screen here. Now this sketch has basically all curves in it, whether that be circles, partial curves here, which are sometimes done as center point curves, other times they're done as 3-point arcs. And basically this gasket here with all these different curves, holes, etc., lots of different radiuses on it. The way we're going to work on this one today is that we're going to go and make it around a center line, which I'm highlighting here on the screen right now. So when we go through and we draw this sketch, we're going to start with a center line and we'll have our origin point in the middle here, and we're going to work out from there because we're going to be learning a new tool which is called the mirror tool, which allows us to draw half the drawing if in the case the drawing is symmetrical like this one is, and then once we've drawn that drawing we can basically use the mirror tool to mirror about our axis in the middle here, our center line here. Alright, so to start off with, let's go back to our My Home here, and we'll go and start a new part, like we do for every single sketch we do, a new part, and we'll start a new 2D sketch. So I'm going to again do this one on the XY plane, and having a look at my drawing here, basically I've got a number of different elements. I've got a circle, a large circle in the middle here, which is 70 millimeters in diameter. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 smaller holes, which are 16 millimeters in diameter, as it says just up here. Alright, then I've got a bunch of different curves around the outside edge here. Now there's a few ways we can go about this. We can start with our holes and a couple of arcs for these, because remembering that we're mirroring around the center line here, so we only want to draw half of these two circles. Alright, or we can start off by going about making our outer line. I think in my case I'm going to start off with my arcs and my two larger circles here, and then we'll start on the outer lines here. So we can see that this one in the middle here is 70 millimeters in diameter, and it's 85 millimeters between the centers of these two, which means we need to halve that dimension, because we're going only halfway up, because we're going from our center line here, which will run on our x-axis. So we're going out our center line in, and we'll start drawing in these circles. So back to the part I've just started. First off, I'm going to pop that center line in. And looking at that sketch again, just real quick, we can see that our overall distance between sides has got to be somewhere greater than 90 millimeters, probably something like maybe 150 millimeters from the left to the right. So we'll go and start a new line. I'm going to select this button here in my format pane, my format palette, which tells me that it's a center line. Alright, and that allows me to create different dimensions around the center line. So we'll click on that center line. I'm just going to pick a point way off to the side here and go out this way. Alright, so there's my start of my line there. I don't know how long it is outside either side of my y-axis there, but we've got a line now. We'll just put a quick dimension on that, because right now, you know, it's not constrained anywhere or dimensioned, and we're going to make it at 150 millimeters. Right, there we go. We'll just zoom out so we can see the whole thing. There we go. Alright, and probably the next thing we need to do is just position it and make sure it doesn't move from the position it's currently in. So I could do two different things. I could fix it using the fix one here, which probably isn't too bad an idea, or I could use something like the horizontal constraint, right, which will constrain it to a specific point. Even more, I could use the coincident constraint. Right, let's use the coincidence this time. So I'll select the line and I'll select the center point. Right, now that line cannot move from that center point. If I try and move it, you can see all I can do is go left and right. Alright. At this point we probably do need to constrain it just a little bit more so we know that it's not going to move around too much. To do that final little constraint there, let's go ahead and we'll give it a dimension from the center point to one end of our line like that. Alright, and we'll just pull that down this side and we'll make it 74. Well, let's make it 75. Alright, that way it sits right in the middle there. Okay, so there's our center line. Now, as I said, we want to go ahead and we want to start putting in these circles. So we've got one circle at the top here, which is 190 millimeters between centers, which means we divide that by 2. So 190 divided by 2 is going to be 9.5. So 95 millimeters up from our center point. So I'm just going to zoom out a little bit and move it down my page here. And let's go ahead and pop that circle in. So clicking on the circle tool, I'm going to select the y-axis there and make a circle to start with. Now I'm going to dimension it to 16 millimeters. Right, now I need to give it a dimension from that center point. As I said, that's going to be 95 millimeters there. From there to there. We'll make that 95. Okay, and probably the last thing we need to do is set so that it doesn't move off the axis, because that's the last dimension this particular circle needs. So I'm going to use the vertical constraint in this case and constrain it like that. Alright, next one on our drawing is our 70 millimeter diameter circle. So our 70 millimeter diameter circle here, which happens to be 85 millimeters between centers, so we'll divide 85 by 2, and that gets us 42.5 millimeters from our center line up to the center of this circle. So let's go ahead and put that one in now. So again, circle tool, I'm just going to make any sort of circle shape on that y-axis like that. Doesn't have to be perfect as far as dimensions yet. We'll go and click our dimension tool, give it a diameter of 70 millimeters. The last thing we need to do is set it at 42.5 millimeters from that axis. 42.5. Alright, and one more thing, we'll just set it so that it is aligned with our center point and cannot move. So again, we're fully constrained again. As you can see, I'm going through, and the reason I'm adding in these dimensions as I go is because I'm going to end up with a lot of different things on this sketch. It's much easier at this point for me to start giving different parts that I'm adding in dimensions or constraints as I go, because it's keeping my drawing fully constrained the whole time. Alright, let's go back to our drawing quickly. Alright, I've got two more arcs here which happen to be 90 millimeters apart between their centers. So for these holes here, and we're going to do half of these holes. Alright, because we're mirroring about that center line, we only want half. So we've got one there, and they happen to continue to be 16 millimeters in diameter. Alright, so 90 divided by 2, by the way, 45 millimeters. Alright, that's where we're going to how far we're going to have to come out from our center point here. Alright, so let's add in our first one. We're going to go to our arc tools, and we're going to select the center point arc. I'm just going to get it on that axis line there, our center line. And I'm not particularly concerned about the dimensions at this point. I'm just adding in those two arcs. I can fix this up in a minute. So to start with, what we'll go ahead and we'll do is we're going to use the equal tool to give them their dimension of 16 millimeters in diameter. Alright, by doing this back to our original circle there, we ensure that they're all absolutely identical. Okay, so that's the first dimension on them. Next thing we need to do is we need to make a little coincident constraint between our center line and the ends of the lines of these arcs so that they cannot move. That one's already constrained on that part. We'll do the same here. Can't constrain that one any further. Let's check the last bit there, and there we go. So they're all constrained now. Right, very last thing we need to do here is add in their dimension from our center point, which was 45 millimeters. Okay, so now we've got our arc set up, all our holes, and our major hole in the middle there. Now we're up to the point where we need to start putting in the wavy line around the outside. Now the best way to do this one is in stages. So we're going to start off with this top arc up here. Okay? This will end up connecting to another one just here, which I haven't actually popped the dimensional for you. I'll just do that now. And dimension, and we'll add that one in. It doesn't want to let me. There we go. 24 millimeters. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Radius of Okay, so 24 millimeters in here. So 24 up the top, 24 in this little curve here, 50 millimeters for this curve. Then we have an inner curve here, which we need to dimension as well, and it's actually shown on this side as 28 millimeters, and then 28 millimeters for this part here. So let's start with the 24 at the top. this one here, we can see the center point is going to be the same as this circle. So clicking back to our part, we're going to use center point arc again, and I'm just going to do a piece of an arc about like that. So there's no particular length I need to make it at this point. We just want to get it in there and dimensioned. So 24 millimeters for our diameter of that one. All right, let's have a quick look at our drawing, see if that looks the same. Yep, that looks around about the same. There we go. So 24 millimeter diameter, radius circle there, or arc I should say. Right, now I reckon we'll go and we'll add in the left and the right 50 millimeter arc here and here. Back to our drawing. Using the arc tool, not the circle tool. We're going to select the center of this circle, so if we look at the original drawing, it shows that as the center point. And we're going to come out from there, probably about to there, for each of these. We'll just make a small arc on either side. Again, doesn't matter if they're perfect at this point, we'll fix that up in a sec. And we're going to go ahead and pop a dimension on one of those as 50 millimeters. Okay, and what you may have noticed is when I went and drew those two arcs, and this may have you, it may not, this one automatically had an equal constraint put on it. So if I click on it now, the show constraint tool, it's got an equal constraint there to the other side's arc. Now, I've got a little arc down the bottom here again, which is 28 millimeters on each side, so we'll go and add that one in now as well. That arc in, and that one's centered at the center point of these holes here, so I'm pretty close to my 28 mil there, so I'll just pop that one in there, and I'll do another one here. All right, we'll give them some dimensions and some constraints now, so make this one 28, and I'll use the equal tool, constraint tool to make the other the same. There we go, so both of them are now equal. They're now they're not entirely constrained right now, so all these sorts of things can, if we grab lines, they can move around. So we're going to have to add some more lines in and dimension those as well. Right, so going back to our gasket drawing, got a couple of little arcs in between our 28 millimeter here and our 50 millimeter here, and they are 28 millimeters in diameter, so those two there. Now to do these two arcs, I'm going to change tools to the 3-point arc tool. I'm going to select the ends of both of those lines and pop an arc in like that. Doesn't need to be a specific dimension yet, we'll add that in a minute. Okay, so that's my two there. Now I'm going to go ahead and click the tangent. Before I go and put dimensions on, I'm going to tangent those two lines together. Alright, and you can see one of them didn't join together there, but we'll fix that up in a minute. Alright, that one already exists, so we're all good there. So we've got our tangent constraints in, now we'll add some dimensions. So that one at the moment is 21. We're going to change that to 28. Alright, and as you can see here, I've got a point here where this arc, while it is tangent to this one, it's way too long. So we're going to go ahead and we'll add a coincident constraint in between these two lines. And we'll probably need to add one to the two endpoints of the lines. There we are. Now they are fully attached together and they're fully dimensioned. At the moment, you can see that I do have 5 dimensions needed still, and this may disappear once I put in these last 2 curves. We'll see what happens. So adding in our next arc. So endpoint, endpoint, arc, endpoint, endpoint, arc. And we'll go ahead and pop some tangent constraints on there. So between there and there and there and there. Same up here. And there we go. So now we pop those arcs in now. They are still green, so we do need to add a little bit more dimension on them. So using our dimension tool, and let's just check what they are on the drawing. 24 millimeters in radius, these are the arcs here. So 24 millimeters, equal constraint for the other side. And we're almost constrained here. It is showing that I still have 1 dimension needed. So let's see if we can find where that is. Basically, we're looking to see if any of the parts that we've just added in move at all. So far, so good. Nothing's shifting yet. Unfortunately, you can see I'm getting a lot of my constraints right now. There we go, it's saying fully constrained now. So we are fully constrained, must have missed something there. And we have 1/2 of our gasket. Now the next part is really easy. What we're going to use is in the modify toolbox up here, we're going to use in the pattern palette, the mirror tool. So we're going to select that tool. Now what it allows us to do is select the things that we wish to mirror and then the line we wish to mirror them around. So we're going to go ahead and start selecting it. For this I'm just going to use the big bounding box like that, and that picks up pretty much everything apart from that arc there, that one there, that one there, and that one there. Now our mirror line is of course our center line there. Once we've got that all selected, we click apply. Oop. Let's try that one more time. Mirror line is that one, and all our parts that we're going for. I'm just going to click them individually now. Make sure I've only got those bits that I need. Okay, apply. There we go. So it's gone and flipped that around the mirror line. When I'm finished, I'll click done. And clicking the front button here. There we go, we've got our gasket there. Oh, I must have missed my top circle there. So let's just undo that. We'll do it one more time. So selecting all that information again. That one there, that one there, that one there. And our mirror line. Hit apply. There must be something going on with this circle perhaps. Okay, so we've got that one to flip and we've mirrored around that center line and it's all correct now. We can see down here, because we've mirrored absolutely everything, including all our constraints, the sketch is fully constrained. So that one's all done now. Hit finish sketch and we're just going to zoom back out. And the one last task I'd like you to do on this particular sketch is we're going to do an extrusion. So we're going to use the extrude tool up here. And you can see if I click this little drop down, it gives me all the information about this, how this tool works. So first we've got to select the profile we wish to extrude, which is that section there and the bottom section as well. Now we need to give it how far we wish to extrude it. So in this case we're going to pick 1mm. Gaskets tend to be quite thin. Underneath that you can see we can extend differently. So we can type in specific dimensions, or we can do it between two different areas of a sketch or between two different sketches, that sort of thing as well. Once we've done that, we can select the direction we wish it to extrude. So we can extrude backwards or forwards. We can also extrude symmetrically or asymmetrically. So asymmetrically we might go 1mm backwards and 2mm forwards. Symmetrically we'll be doing equally, the same distance either side. Alright, we're making a solid out of it, as we can see there, rather than a surface. And we've got it all selected, it's ready to go. We'll hit OK, and there we go, we have our gasket. So that's the gasket. I'll get you guys to save that one off to your folder and pop that one in our submissions folder. Thanks very much for watching.